Welcome to the Women's Business Center at Cornerstone Alliance's Business Plan Certified, proudly sponsored by Stearns Bank. During this series, you'll gain tools to help you launch or grow your small business. Now, let's begin.
I want to thank you and everybody for supporting us and allowing us to come and introduce ourselves. From the SBDC, what we do with the Small Business Development Center is we are one of 10 regions. We're focused in the Southwest, which is why we're here today. We're based out of Western Michigan University, but there are 9 other regions supporting the state of Michigan and the small businesses. So part of what we do is we're part of the SBA. We do not provide the funds, but we work to provide the business models and the substantiating information so you can speak to a lender and pitch your idea to potentially get funds or investment. So what we do is very critical to the state of Michigan and certainly very critical to you, and we're here to help you at no cost. So let's jump in. Today, of course, we're talking about developing your growth strategy, but what we want to do is really dive into understanding what are your particular growth signals for your business. And one of the things that I think is really important is to understand where you guys are. So this is where you're able to raise your hand or share a little bit more. Which of the questions, if more than one, applies to you about growth strategy? It could be that you don't know how to grow your business right now, or you're not sure of what opportunities exist to explore. And frankly, it could be, gosh, I am so darn busy, I can't even focus on strategy right now. Clearly, you're not the only one dealing with this issue. And so one of the things I would encourage you to from this experience, get to know each other, network together. The best thing about these cohorts is you have new colleagues. Even if you're in a different business, you feel the same pain. So I encourage you to create these relationships and build on these relationships, because these are the folks in your community that can help you directly and feel your pain. So part of what we're doing today is really focusing on part of the live plan in the execution section. We really want to talk through milestones and your key metrics, because that's the part that will help you understand, okay, now I'm at growth stage, I'm ready to grow. I feel like I've been there for a bit, but I'm not exactly sure what the signals are. But this is in live plan where you want to take a look at that and start taking notes and measuring that. So identifying your milestones. You guys have all identified the business that you're in and the idea that you have, and you've been operating for a while. So how do you identify what those milestones are and those growth signals? So what we've done is, again, as I say, we've created some industry-specific ideas. We're going to give you a couple of breaks to take some notes, to work on some thoughts, to be able to structure this, to be able to go back to live plan and input this information and keep up with building your business plan. So some of those things in terms of growth milestones and signals may be, you're consistently selling out of your inventory. You can't satisfy customer demand, right? Supply and demand. You're at that point where you just can't meet the need, which could also be a signal that you need to hire someone, right, to support you. You also have a list of repeat customers. You have strong word of mouth in the community. People love your product or your service. You can't satisfy enough need at the moment. You may also feel that, right, there's some bottlenecks in your operations. You feel overwhelmed. Maybe you haven't streamlined things, or again, you don't have enough headcount in order to keep up with demand. So all of these demands lead to new opportunities, right? You also may feel like, gosh, I'm doing really well right now. I've got financial readiness. I have steady cash flow. I'm making money every month that allows me to continue my operation. Things are going really well. I just don't know what to do next. So it's not unusual, right? That's what we're dealing with all the time. So to give you a little bit more specific information for those of you who have these particular lines of business, these are just some signals that may be true for you. So if you're in the bakery scenario, right? Regular sellouts, long wait times, you can't keep up with demand again. If you're the leather maker, right? If you've got demand and repeat customers, and honestly, if you've got some custom work that is now being on demand, that really is a good growth signal, and you might be able to capitalize on that. Same thing with the jewelry maker and the clothing maker. Engagement on social media is really high for both of you. You have a demand for your styles and sizes or different types of product that you're producing, but you can't keep up again with demand. Healthcare and wellness, you've got a wait list forming. I think that's the same thing with caregivers and childcare. You've got a growing wait list for people who need to be in your facility. That's another good growth sign. For life insurance, it could be you've got a whole batch of referrals coming your way and increased client inquiries. And maybe there's some group policies by businesses in the area seeking out your services. So some of these, in terms of beauty, you've got fully booked appointments, you've got clients asking for additional services or products that you haven't thought about. So those are all some of the specific growth signals for your industry. But I also want to stop for a minute and see if there's anybody else who has a question about what might be a specific growth signal for their business.
So I think it's common to see this in industries where you're a sole entrepreneur and you're the maker, right? So if you're the baker or the leather goods creator, I think the hard part of this is understanding if that's sustained growth or if it's seasonal growth and spurts of growth and how to manage through that. Getting a lot of head shaking on that one.
Sure. So we're going to give you some time. Is there anybody else? I'm sorry. Anybody else?
Nope. I was going to say if anybody wanted to elaborate. Come on, Chandra. You're not quiet.
Okay, so I have a big order right now with the WPC. And I'm the maker. I'm a leather worker. So so right now I'm all hands on deck and it's just me making most of it. And I don't want to say I'm burnt out, but it's a lot. And so how do you, like, I can't predict that another thing like that's going to happen after this thing is done. And so I think for me, it would be nice to know how to get a steady flow of something like this coming in, because then I can hire people to help me. So that's
right. And I think it's hard to know what those clues are, right? Especially if this feels like a one-off.
Yeah.
Do you have a story about how it came to you?
There's an event coming up, and I guess everybody here is kind of familiar with my work. And I was really surprised to get a bulk order because my stuff is handmade. So it was a big surprise to have as many, the number of items requested was a lot.
I think the signal for you will be interesting after the event and the 200 items go to 200 people. Is that going to spark?
That's what I'm hoping for.
And then do you start to see some consistency?
Right.
Because leather goods really are not seasonal unless you think of gift giving time, right?
Right.
Like otherwise it's like
it's pretty steady. Birthdays, I mean,
right. But your bulk orders are it's going to be, are you going to be able to switch over and show that you can do handmade goods at a cost for a corporate level?
Yes.
Right? Is this something that you're going to want to do too?
Yeah. And I kind of like it, but I would need to hire somebody if this happened next month.
Absolutely. Well, then would you want to offer that, right? Like, so then do you want to price it at a more bulk pricing? And after you're done with all this, is the margin there still?
Right. Yeah.
That'll be a big question, right?
It is. There's a lot of questions going on like that.
Yeah. So. But that's a good one to challenge yourself on. So like, I know with bakeries, closest to it, because my sister, I help her with her business, is she wants, more catering gigs because that's more profitable for her. But when she has the catering gigs, she's creating a bulk order, and yeah, she's up till 2 a.m, you know, doing that. So then understanding what is how to get regular and what and when do you know it's regular? Like, yeah, yeah. I guess that's why it's a growth plan. It's not a you're ready. It's like what are those signals and what would you put into
What's the
play
next step?
to do that?
Right.
Which maybe some of it might be that you put, like, do you have an on-call assistant?
Right.
That then they get trained up and then they become full-time or full part-time
Right.
based on the leveling out. But that's, I mean, I think that's one of the hardest things. And Wendy, I think you'll probably touch on that, is like, when is it the right time to hire and how do you hire and how do you plan for that? Because nobody wants to be having somebody's livelihood dependent on them until they feel comfortable that they can actually carry that weight.
Right. And then there's still that burnout, that uncomfortable space
Yeah.
you're in where you're trying to do it all yourself
Yeah.
before you hire somebody. And so, like, how many of these, you know, events do you pick up?
Right.
You know, you can't sustain that every
Yeah.
month. You know, you're not going to just be able to keep working.
Maybe you can. Well, maybe I'm saying maybe you can sustain the order so then you do know to hire.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yes, that's it. That's
That's the
exactly the
difference.
transition that's right now.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Emily, I saw had a lot of head shaking back there. How does it kind of pan out for you?
Yeah, I mean, mine is very sort of seasonal in that sense too, and you know, with the added complication of having a kid and like I have a life outside of that as well, and so I don't know what to do often. I just like work gets done, you know, but
Yeah.
but there are a lot of late nights, and I always tell myself I'm not doing that again. Yeah, still trying to figure out my own capacity.
Yeah.
And like I think with something like leather, that has the advantage of being non-perishable, and so you can do things ahead of time. And there are some things I can do ahead of time too, but that's another challenge for me, is that there are certain things I can't do ahead of time.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when the thought crosses my mind of can I offload this? I don't know a lot of time. And then there's also, you know, mentally, can I hand this on without micromanaging, or, you know, like can I trust somebody to pass this off?
Yeah.
It's a big deal. So
I know my sister won't let me dip those cookies. She says I am not particular enough. So
So it's still the juggle between the doing and the thinking, right? And the strategizing. It always is, and it always will be. So if there's a way to, and you guys, congratulations, you're making time today to do exactly that. Through this series, you're working on your business, not just in your business. So congratulations, because that's a significant step. Doesn't mean we have all the answers by the time we get done with today, but it gives you some time to pause for a minute, take a look at your numbers too, and not just the financial numbers, but sort of the volume and the quantity. So you can also take a look at, okay, I want to, after this particular event where I'm providing the 200 pieces of leather goods, can I take a step back literally for just a day to reflect on what happened, how it happened, where it came from, how it shows up in my statements, right? And I'm a person who always like to look at my financials on a monthly basis and even an annual basis and quarterly basis to take a look at what was different now that wasn't true a year ago, that wasn't true last quarter, that wasn't true even a month ago. What was it that affected my business and created this particular number on my plan, right? So I think being able to take some time to reflect is important. And even if you can just take an hour or two to be able to go through that on a regular basis and take a look at it is always helpful. But to that end,
twofold. I'm not sure if you're advancing the slides to where you're chatting. And then second, we also have a question. So I wanted to give Magdana, am I saying that properly, an opportunity to ask her question.
Great. Ask away. I have not advanced the slides.
Good morning. But for me, mine is a little complicated because I don't have a business per se, but I have a ministry online, and so it's nonprofit, but I'm trying to figure out how to grow it because we've been online. We started with 25 people. Now it's 324, but I would still like to not only like grow it to have more people, but also have the people engage in a little bit more, like especially like for financial support for the things that we want to do. But like I'm not quite sure how to do that. So I was thinking maybe, since even though it's nonprofit, but it's still like kind of a business or something, I was thinking maybe I could get some ideas on how to grow the ministry.
That's great, because part of what we're going to be addressing is some of these other industries that may have an online presence. There's an ability to talk about that. So we'll talk about that in a bit. And hopefully we'll answer your question, but I will leave the door open for you to continue to ask a question when we get to that segment. All
Okay.
right?
Thank you.
Great question. Love it. All right. So now we're going to take a break so you guys can work on this stuff, right? So what we just talked about, the things that are getting in the way of, that they're good signals, right? These are good signals. These are nice problems to have, but problems nonetheless. So how is it that you can take a moment, take some time to think about your milestones? What are those things that are your growth signals? The leather goods, it's a wonderful opportunity. And how do you, again, good point, Chrissy, where you ease that person into being your backup. You have to spend time training them. When can you trust that they can support you in those times of need? But how your products or services can serve a new client base, what do you think about that? Or are there new products or services you can introduce? And that may be too for the online ministry. Maybe there's something new that you can do to create community around your group and more engagement. So we can start thinking about what are those things that would indicate growth. And let's think together what processes, people, or tools you're going to need to work through to execute this strategy. So does anyone have anything that they'd like to share about what they've come up with?
I'm Aaliyah Horns. I'm an artist, a creator, a maker. I do like a lot of different types of art. That's one of my milestones, that I do so many different things that is kind of hard to like prioritize in a way. And like I'm even teaching art now. So now it's like I have a specific amount of time that I spend teaching and then working on portraits and then paintings and then whatever else people ask me to do. It makes it hard. And then another thing is like the cost. Sometimes I don't know what to charge because it's my own work. I'm not really getting it from other people. It's not ideas and stuff that I got from other people. It's stuff that I'm generating on my own. So it's like I don't want it to cost too much, and then I don't want to sell I don't want to not be getting compensated for my work. But I feel like my work helps a lot of people with a sense of healing and restoration of the mind. Like when it comes to my artwork, people, with my drawings, it fills a void. And then with the teachings, like people are learning, to do something that they can take a long way, or they can teach someone else, however they choose to do that.
Is there a way to look at not just the supply cost, but then pay yourself a living wage? So if you look at what it takes for you to produce one of your pieces of art, and also the fact that it's unique, it's probably one of a kind, isn't it? Yes. So there's some exclusivity to it without being exclusive, right? So it's a one of a kind. Let's create some value around the one of a kind idea, but also the idea that you're putting a lot of talent and work into that in addition to the cost of your supplies. So as crazy as it seems from an artist standpoint, how do you break it down into smaller pieces that you can say, yeah, you know what? It is really worth that $150 or whatever price you're charging.
Are you tracking what you charge for something and how many hours you put into it?
Like,
You are not.
There you go. Yep.
a lot of people don't, because they're not artists, they don't understand the reason for the pricing, and then it's like, oh, you know.
So
have to.
last week we called this emotional discount, and I love that because it's spot on, right? It's your friends, it's your family, it's Ethel asking. No, I'm just kidding. And we, as entrepreneurs, do give that emotional discount because we undercharge to those that we feel excited about, but also if they squabble a little, right? Like,
Pushback.
yeah, exactly. So the feedback last week was to really understand your pricing model. So for you, and it's not about competitor pricing either, right? Like competitor pricing is important and you have to know that, but you also have to know if you're making a profit or not.
Right.
So you will need to start like tracking time for output. And that's, for you, it kind of could be a little bit easier, right? Like if you know you are on average doing one of a kind art that's in this size range takes you 10 hours versus, you know, where I met you at the market where you were able to do a hand sketch of somebody in 20 minutes and you were charging $20. Okay, great, fine. But then there's, you know, then there's probably some of the other pieces of like the teaching, which might be slightly easier. But if you can start truly tracking that, then you can kind of figure out your averages, and then you can tell people when they push back on you and say, oh, I don't know if I can afford that. And you can just say, well, that's actually going to be 20 hours of my time. Like that's going to be a significant amount. And to her point, it's also one of a kind. Nobody else is getting it, you know?
Can I share? Because I have had struggles with that at festivals and things where, you know, it's a $300, $400 bag and people are like, oh, you know, and then I would take my prices down and then somebody would come in and say, oh, you're not charging enough. And then I would move my prices back up. Okay, so I'm going to share some OCD for you. This is what saved me. I finally decided to stop the madness and figure out how much my stuff cost me to make. And I did a whole thing based on how much I wanted to pay myself per hour, my operating costs and everything. So all of my products, here's like this front section, it's like how much material cost me. And then like everything from the thread to the glue to the sealer, and then my time. And then overhead costs and everything just kind of broken down in there. And once I did my prices that way, there was a confidence that came with it where people stopped questioning the price of my bags. Because until you're just pulling numbers out of the air, you're shaky on it. Because you don't really have a reason for it to cost that much. You're just saying something.
Right.
But if you know, I'm going to pay myself $20 an hour for these, you know, to do this work, and it costs me $15 in material, and I need to make a profit, and and you end up with a painting or a piece of artwork that costs $300, $400, $500. You know where that number came from, and people can sense it. I swear they can. They can sense it, and they will not haggle you. At least the customers that are your customers.
Right. Yeah,
The
that's
people
thing.
that want to nickel and dime and cheapen your product, they're not your market.
Yeah.
So that's what I have to add. I had to learn that the hard way.
All right, thank you.
You can teach the course. Thank you. Thank you. It gets back to your numbers. Don't undervalue you. And the only way to do that is your numbers. Get your numbers. Thank you so much. That's brilliant. Love it. So you guys have a local resource, see, beyond Brandy, Chrissy, and us. That's why this is so valuable. You've got mentors in the room. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. Guys, what it really gets down to is demand, desire, and need. So how do we strengthen your brand and your marketing? This is where we get into storytelling and authenticity. It has to come from you, and it has to be the actual why passion behind your business, and it's you telling your own story. Leveraging social media and SEO, search engine optimization. How do you rank high when somebody searches on Google for a product or a service you provide? How do you rank? And customer reviews and testimonials. How do you maximize and strengthen that? Can you capture that in different ways? So here's some examples. The bakery, post behind the scenes videos of the process. That also adds value and knowledge to your consumer to say, oh, this is really well done. I like their process. Your leather maker, brilliant, thank you. Time lapse of videos of a custom bag being made could be kind of fun. Jewelry maker, how about unboxing videos of showing packaging and craftsmanship, how you do it? So work backwards from the final product to get to, like, if they're unboxing it, but here's what it takes to get to this product. And beauty business, tutorials, how to use the product. So we were going to take another 10-minute break. Let's not do that, but let's at least take a minute or two to say, what is unique about your story? What makes you special or significant in the community, and why you for your product? To our online ministry, what platforms are you using and what can you add? And finally, are there testimonials and other ideas that you can feature on your website of part of your journey? So I'm just going to take a minute so you guys can write this stuff down. And does anybody have anything they want to share about this one? We do have a minute to share.
It's a personal concierge around Popwell Lake. So I'm using my expertise of what I came from. So I was the state property manager for Dick and Betsy DeVos for 14 and a half years. So I want to get those who are coming into around Popwell Lake, just Popwell Lake to start with, of you're coming in. So I want to use my passion for making your life better. Let's face it, man. We know we get stuck when a house is opened up, like, or anything happens to happen. So happy wife, happy life is pretty much going to be a lot of my saying. So that's like the history of it. So if someone's coming to town, I want to open up your house, have it all cleaned up, make sure the cleaning people are doing well, landscaping people are doing well. Do you need stock for the food? Do you want it prepped? I have 10 years of being a culinary chef also. So I've got a unique niche. So I'm using all my skill base. And then when people hear about this, like, I want to come work for you, mainly seasonal. Yep. So it's like teachers. I have a retired UPS guy who wants to come work for me, so he can do like boats, vehicles, and the manly things. Because let's face it, we need a man around. I hate to say it, to do some manly things
For their brawn.
Yes. So we need that. My platforms are actually, I was told to like join the yacht club. I don't know, but I'll do it.
Yeah.
We have a gazebo down at Popwell Lake. You haven't been there? Go there. It's a lot of fun. It's on the lake.
Yep. They may not remember the conversation.
Yeah,
though.
but they're like, go there and network. So mine is going to be a lot of networking to get people. I've joined the Facebook Popwell Lake things to understand what's going on around me. When people are looking for just a cleaning person, I don't want a cleaning person. I want to do the whole thing for you. How do I make your life? Do you need a dog walker? What do you need? What makes your life easier is going to be my passion to helping. For my testimonials, I have a letter from Dick and Betsy DeVos. Talked me up for the 14 and a half years I was with them. So I start with that. Now it's bringing it all together though.
Yeah.
To that's why I'm here.
So expanding your sales channels, for those of you who have e-commerce and online marketplaces, what are you doing through Shopify, Etsy, Faire, or your own website? What are the things that you're doing to expand your channels? What can you do with wholesale and retail partnerships? Leather goods, is there any way that you can do that? Is that something that you want to pursue? Maybe not, but maybe it's something you want to look at. Same thing with the jewelry maker, the baker, etc. Pop-up events. I know you guys are so big into the farmers markets, craft fairs, and other expos just to bring in new customers. But what else can you do from those events that you're looking at? And then maybe subscription models. So let's jump into the examples of those, because I think those are more powerful than just the list, right? Dessert subscriptions is one idea. Custom pre-orders. Exclusive product drops, if that's something that you want to do as the leather maker. I don't know if that's something you've already thought about. If you're in a wellness business, can you launch a membership program with exclusive perks? Something that has been done already, but could make you very unique in the marketplace to create a membership program. And then childcare provider weekend care options. Don't know if that's a possibility, how likely that is in your market. So I'm going to keep going. Strategic partnerships and collaborations, cross promotions. How can you partner amongst yourselves, right? Bakery and a coffee shop, unless you already serve coffee from your bakery. Referral networks, beauty business and a wellness provider. How can you exchange referrals? That might be something that didn't occur to you, right? And then bundling offers. How can the leather goods maker and the jewelry maker create curated gift sets that might also be a collaboration? That could be really interesting. Another example, curated gift set. It's sort of a repeat of what I just mentioned. But puppy therapy, how about corporate wellness? Can you bring in the puppies as corporate wellness and puppy therapy? So here's where we were talking about before, is getting to know your numbers and becoming really intimate with your numbers. Pricing and profit margins. How do you ensure that you're not underpricing your work? The only way to do it is mapping it out. You've got to actually track it and take a look at it. And like we were saying before, let's get down to the basics of how much do you want to pay yourself back, plus all of the supplies and the overhead that you've got, transportation to and from these fairs, etc. What is that costing you? And you actually really want to account for that. How can you look at grants, loans, and crowdfunding? Crowdfunding is actually something that you can do as a business, believe it or not. If you've got a strong following, take a look into it and see what you can do to maximize that. And if you have any questions on that, I'm happy to answer those. Again, invest in efficiency. What tools can make you more efficient, help you save time, invoicing, automation, anything that you can do. So here's some examples. Online ordering and delivery logistics. Is that something that the baker might want to think about? Can you do something that would be small batch manufacturing as a clothing maker? And the caregiver, scheduling software for staff efficiency. That might be something that you want to think about that you haven't considered already. Customer retention and community building. This also goes back to our online ministry. Loyalty programs and exclusive offers. That may not be correct or right for the online ministry, but engaging content and education, workshops, behind the scenes content, or for the leather goods maker, right? Product care tips. That's awesome. Feedback and adaptation, adjusting your offerings based on your customer input. And I bet you've got great live input when you're at these fairs. So some examples. A VIP cookie club could be kind of fun for the baker. Free workshops or online workshops for leather care could be an actual offering that you have also on social media. Q&A session live on skin fit care for the beauty business, and childcare provider offering educational resources for parents. So with that in mind, we want to make sure that you have a growth mindset, because it takes strategic planning, adaptability, and yes, financial discipline. The reason we want to get there is to help you avoid burnout. Focus on what you guys do best and see what it is that you ultimately can delegate. You can't do it today, maybe, but strategize about ways to delegate things that are not your forte. Outsource those, delegate those. And then you're doing it today. You're surrounding yourself with mentors, business networks, and professionals for support. So congratulations to all of you for being in the room, whether live or virtually, and for following this course that's going to help your businesses grow. So with that, I'm going to leave it open for questions.
Yeah, I was just talking about the struggle of having enough time to execute these good ideas. Because I think we all have a lot of good ideas, but we're all doing so many things that how do you know, even like social media,
Yes.
you can't just say do social media. Well, you have to, like, there's so much that goes into that, the platforms, the algorithms, like the time it takes to create content. So each idea has a time cost.
Yes.
That's where I struggle, and there's not an easy answer to that, but I'm just bringing it up as probably something that a lot of us can relate to, is the actual time to invest and learn these things when we're also trying to actually run the business. So I don't know what my question is exactly, other than that's a struggle. And
I think that's where the plan has to come in. So what are you going to prioritize? So and your growth plan isn't necessarily what's going to happen in the next 6 months. Your growth plan should be a little further out, right? So what's your next 1 to 3, 3 to 5, whatever works best for you. And then you have to decide what is the priority. So for me, I was telling Jackie last week we were together, and I was like, our bookings are down this summer for our event venue. And I'm like, oh God, do I want to pivot? Do I want to change a new revenue stream? Do I want to start hosting and creating my own events that I sell tickets for? Or do I want to put that time and energy into new marketing and new ways that I'm telling people about what my core offering is, and be okay with this year and be really focused on that to up 2026 and make 2026 a makeup year for myself? And I'm leaning to the latter, because I think from my own experience of creating our own created events, that the work doesn't always return the profit. And then it's also putting me outside of what my core business is. So derailing me from my core. And that time and energy I could be putting towards my marketing could really be keeping me focused and only getting better on my core. So that's something that I have to consider for my growth strategy. And it's a prioritization game, and it's hard because I really want to do the big events and make the money and get something in my pocket. But I don't think that's the long game for me. So just an example.
I think
One other planning piece that I could share as a suggestion is a tool that I use. I am so wedded to my calendar to make sure that I can get all my stuff done. So whether it's a to-do list or placing something on your calendar on a weekly basis to look at, what content are you going to create for social media this week? And what is the rhythm in which you're going to do it? So there are tools out there too for social media where you can pre-schedule. You can actually work, like you don't have any extra hours in the day. You can schedule it on a time that isn't so busy on the production side for you, and say set aside however much it takes, an hour, hour and a half, to produce a 5-minute video that you can break into 2 or 3 pieces and spoon out over the week. And you can schedule that stuff on Facebook as an example. It's just one of the opportunities that you might have, and a suggestion that might be helpful, to schedule it out and put it on your calendar to make sure that you're doing it. And if Inspire doesn't strike, that's fine. As long as you've thought about it, and give yourself some grace too, to say, it's not going to happen this week. It might not.
And if that's where your burnout is, that also might be where you need to hire out and invest. Yeah. Like that's another, which is hard, right? To decide if you're going to make those investment places there, but, or if that's not an option, then you have to be like, oh man, can I get somebody in my village to help me? That's like, just brainstorm with me, get me excited again, or whatever.
Go have coffee. Go have coffee together. Right?
We have a question online.
Yes, it's Magdana again with the online ministry. I just wanted to share like the challenges that I have. Like the first challenge that I have is the people are all over the world. I have people in Canada, Dominican Republic, Brazil, whatever. And with that, it brings a challenge of the language, because I can't do it in English because some of them don't speak English. I try to do it in 2 languages, but then I have to translate what I
Mhm.
say in English in the other language, and it takes them double time, the time for whatever. Like if I had 1 hour for the ministry, then now it become 2 hours because I have to find songs in both languages, etc. And the other challenge I have is the competition with other ministers that were there before me, because I'm relevantly new to that line. So it's kind of hard. And I'm home based, and I don't have like the tools, the support, like human resources to help. So it's make it even hard. And the other one, which is more likely for me, because I want to be honest in what I'm doing. Like I want to tell people things that I know that are biblically sound and that the Bible actually says. I don't want to tell them things to make them feel good, where they feel excited, but I know it's a fib. So because I'm trying to be authentic, I'm trying to be true. So it makes it hard for me to go the ministry, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do.
Well, it sounds like we need to start with the story and what you really want to share. What are your priorities, right? So that's how I look at it, right? So you've got two different languages you're sharing. I'm assuming the other one's French, maybe?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So it's difficult to do that. I hear what you're saying. It doesn't mean that you have to get down to one language. It just means how often do you want to do both, right? So again, if you carve out, so 1 week you're going to do it in English, maybe you're going to do the same one in French the next week, that it doesn't have to be simultaneous.
Okay.
Perhaps that might be one idea to give yourself, again, give yourself some grace. You're doing the best that you can. And that may be part of what you indicate to your audience, is that these are the weeks that, or the days that will have that done in French. These are the days that will produce some content in English. And it'll be identical. You can be very transparent and authentic with your audience. And I think that'll win you even more support, because they realize this is an effort and you are putting in time commitment to do that. But it's just being able to prioritize again and get back to what is your actual mission, and how do we go backwards into what does that mean? If I want to get the word out, the word, how do I plan for this? How do I break this down into pieces that I can deliver to my audience? So maybe that's helpful. I don't know, but that's the way my mind, I'm a linear thinker. So
yeah. Well, I mean, it's new. I didn't think of it that way, like do it in 2 different days with the different languages. I always try to mix it together. Yeah, so I think that's great. I'll definitely try.
Yeah, and I think your audience will appreciate that. You know, hey, this is when it's going to come out. You can count on Tuesdays to be the one in French.
Yeah.
Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays, however you choose to do it. And we're going to have the identical message in English on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And Sunday, we're all going to be at church doing our own thing.
I have another suggestion too, because I love what Wendy said, doing them on alternative days. That's really good. If you wanted to do something jointly, depending on the platform that you're on, AI could help you translate in real time as well. So that's another option to look into. Not sure, are you doing it on Zoom?
I use YouTube and StreamYard.
Okay. Yeah, that's, I would just explore real time, language translation. Maybe it's a plugin that you could put onto yours, or if your audience, maybe the audience has to do that. I'm not sure, but definitely check out AI and see if that could help you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions in the room?
I have a comment, I guess.
Okay.
Well, so what she was saying about do what you do best.
Yeah.
So for me, I have, I created a line of bags. I have 10 different handbags that I make. And I'm starting to realize that maybe that with all the rest of the leather goods that I make, it might just be too much for one person to try and stay on top of. And I'm actually considering paring down to just like my 3 top selling bags for a while until I can get help, or just get help.
Expand.
Yeah, expand. And
I feel like if I do something like that, it would allow me the time to do some of the other great suggestions that you have. So, do you think that it's at some point maybe it's good to stop and think maybe I'm trying to do too many things, and you're not, and so you're all over the place and you're not as good at any of them as is if you just concentrated on what worked the most or worked the best in the past.
Absolutely brilliant. And here's why I think your path is really strong. And it doesn't mean it's the end of diverse product offering, right?
Mhm.
All it means is you're taking a step back to focus on what seems to work best and sell the most. And then there may be an opportunity again when you get this there may be a brand new type of product that comes your way and development and design of a bag that comes to you because you're not so overwhelmed. And that becomes a new introduced product that you can say, wow, I was so relieved from the pressure that I've created this one new bag that's really a top seller now. It's become my fourth product. It's now become number one on my website or however you're selling your product. And I didn't have the capacity before to create something new and innovative in my product line. But now I've just done something brilliant.
We're here talking about growth strategy. Strategy is about developing priorities. So this is about what choices are you going to make in your business. And that's why commit it to paper, like do the legwork and get there. And you guys are day one of that journey. But that is the most critical part of growth, is truly prioritizing. Because of course, we could whiteboard every one of these things, and you guys have all of those too. Then you have all of your friends, families, and customers telling you what you should do too. And
It's a lot to take in, but if you can distill that into this plan, and really push yourself with that discipline of prioritization, that's going to unlock a lot. And also help you with the burnout, which is where we all are when we're moving into growth usually, right?
I did want to add one thing that if I may, I noticed that restaurants that have a big, huge menu, it's almost too much.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like a Chipotle,
Yep.
they just have their tried and true, and they'll add like something featured,
Yep.
similar to what you're saying. So
Yeah.
so you can see it in different industries. Sometimes another tip is to look in different industries from yours
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
grab ideas.
Restaurant consultants would tell you all the time, start with a small menu and do specials and see if those add anything that you should add. But if you have too big of a menu, you'll ruin your inventory.
Yep.
You'll lose money just
Except
because you
Cheesecake
have stuff.
Factory. For some reason, it works for them.
Well, they've been around for a long time. Exactly.
They have a novel.
Exactly. But no, it's
Yeah.
true story.
It's a
So
lot.
yeah.
You know, because if somebody orders something on my website,
Yeah.
you know, it's like I might be making a bag and then I have to go make,
Your
wine
brain's
glass
gotta-
charms or
yeah.
bracelets or like, and it's just so.
It's just
and-
the one-off.
And I have to order
Exactly.
Yeah.
snaps for this thing, rivets for that thing, and zippers for this, and it's a lot to always have.
Well, and I think the
Track
difference
of.
for you too now is you're no longer just looking at Southwest Michigan as customers. So you can get away with a smaller inventory because you're not going to have the fear that somebody's going to be like, well, everybody's got that bag now.
Right.
You know, it's like you have more diverse territory to cover, and so you won't have as much of that, you
That's
know?
a great point.
And
Perfectly
it's-
said.
And it's easier with less stuff.
Yeah.
Because I keep getting stumped on my business plan because I offer too many products.
yeah.
I love looking at the financial model to help you wean through that. But that may be what Chrissy and Brandy can help you with as well, is
Yep.
looking through your financial model and weaning through your product offering to, again, hone in on what you do best.
And it's perfectly okay to put in a business plan that these are like future growth areas are going to be X, Y, and Z. So you don't have to table any of the things that you're doing long term, but you can tell the bank, this is my priority, this is my most like profitable and awareness driving options, and this is where I'm going to start. But please know, like, I have intention to expand revenue streams doing this, this, and this. and that is okay. I know you're an artist, you don't want to feel hindered. That's why this one's got so many bags or baggage.
Right. Baggage. It's true. A lot.
But it's easy to preach, it's harder to practice. So lean on the crew, because we're all having to make those
You
choices.
bet. All right. Any other questions? Wendy, any parting words of advice?
Nothing but thank you to the group. Keep working, as Chrissy mentioned, get it in writing. Put everything in writing so you have a visual representation of what your thoughts are, right? Keep working the plan, because that's what helps you get away from distraction and overwhelm sometimes. But thank you for the opportunity. I so support all of small businesses. I love what you guys are doing. And anytime we can be of support or service to you, we're here for you.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time for more strategies to empower your business success.